another My Week With video. So this week I've been driving around in the 2021 Dodge Durango Hellcat, and oh man, it has been a fun week. It goes without saying, I'm sure, but oh man, this thing is awesome. So about 6 months ago, I did a full review on the Durango Hellcat on the launch event for this vehicle. I took it around a racetrack even, and just had a whole fun morning with this vehicle. And so now, you know, having a chance to spend an entire week with it has been really great, and has given me a lot of additional insight. I mean, on the surface, you know, obviously it's 710 horsepower from a 6.2 liter supercharged V8 engine, 645 pound-feet of torque, you know, 3.5 seconds 0 to 60, 11.5 second quarter mile times, all kinds of crazy numbers and stuff. And so, you know, that kind of stuff never gets old, and that's the kind of stuff that you know, even in daily driving, even if you're not flooring it, just dipping into it just a little bit and then backing off immediately puts a huge smile on your face and really brightens your day. If you're someone who's fortunate enough to be able to afford one of these, 100% I recommend it, although I don't have to sell anyone on this vehicle because these are already completely sold out, since they are only a 2021 model year vehicle, unfortunately, due to emissions regulations and stuff. So this is a one-yearly thing. They're already sold out. So if you haven't already bought one of these, or you don't have one on order already, this is just purely entertainment. And that's what this vehicle is, by the way. It's entertainment for the entire family. You have 3 rows of seats and all that. But anyway, I'm going to pop it into manual mode here, use some manual shifting, and see how it actually handles my own back roads here. Because whenever I was on the streets in North Carolina reviewing this last year, there weren't too many tight corners, and so I was only able to sample the handling a little bit on the track. But now out here on my own very tight back roads, and this thing does really good. So we have these, you know, Sporty or Pirelli tires, which you know, are 295 wide, so they're nice and wide, obviously very sporty tires. But because this vehicle is so heavy, you know, these weigh around 5,700 pounds, and so, you know, with that weight, it's about over 300 pounds heavier than a regular Durango. You do feel that weight a little bit here, especially on these tighter back roads. But it really does such a good job, and I noticed this on the track as well, where it still is so flat. It handles way better than it has any right to, and it is really, I mean, it can totally keep up with what you want to do on a back road, especially for a family vehicle like this. And it just, man, this thing obviously flies and wants to gain speed so quickly. It'll do 180 miles per hour for its top speed. I mean, this thing is just sheer insanity, and the fact that, again, you can have it in this massive Durango for this model year is really an awesome and very special experience. I also love the manual shifting. This has the ZF8 speed. It's the 8 HP 95 version of that transmission, which is the all-wheel drive version, and it never fails to impress me. It's always super quick with the downshifts, and then the upshifts are always savage. It is absolutely just insane to drive this thing. I absolutely love, whether you do the manual shifting or the automatic, it is very intelligent with its automatic transmission tuning and stuff, and the gearing is nice and short with the ZF8 speed, so it really rips your head off, you know, just partially because of the power, but partially just because of the gearing as well. They do such a good job of really maximizing that 700 horsepower with the way the gearing is set up in this thing. And so, yeah, it is fantastic to drive. One thing I will say, though, is you don't have a ton of feeling through the steering wheel. That's one thing now that I'm, you know, on these tighter back roads. I wish there was maybe a little bit more feedback, and even with the vehicle in its sport mode here, you know, I still wish there was even a little bit more weight to it. Now, you can crank it up a little bit more with the custom mode if you'd like, but regardless, I'm truly nitpicking here. This thing is fantastic, and of course, if you can, you know, get one of these things, then 100% it is totally worth it, and it's going to be an absolute blast. It's the only thing that, you know, comes even close to offering, you know, this much horsepower in this segment. You know, even all the super high-end German vehicles with their, you know, AMG versions and M versions and stuff still can't touch the horsepower figures of this. The other 3-row crossovers are very quick and stuff. I did do a BMW X7 M50i and stuff like that, but I still think that just this supercharged engine in this is what really makes it, really gives it just so much more character than all that German stuff, which is very quick and very impressive still in their own way. But this definitely has a little bit more of a savagery to its nature with that supercharger whine and just the, you know, beastly V8, the burly V8, which doesn't muffle anything like you sometimes get with some of those twin turbo V8s. And again, it never gets old. I love the little like overrun sounds you get too whenever this thing upshifts. It is so good sounding. Oh yeah, this thing does not get old. I mean, I'm still giggling like a maniac even after a week of driving around this thing. And yeah, it never gets old. It's just, oh, I love this thing so much. Ultimate dad car right here, family vehicle. If you're an enthusiast, it doesn't get much better than the Durango Hellcat. But yes, even though it was an absolutely amazing experience, I do also want to share a few of the other little observations that I learned during the week here. And this just applies mostly to the Durango in general, not specifically the Hellcat, but these new, restyled Durangos for 2021 here. And so one of the things is, you have this brand new 10.1-inch Uconnect 5 touchscreen, which is fantastic. It is a really great screen. I love the wireless Apple CarPlay. It worked pretty flawlessly. But I did notice there was one time actually where it kind of got stuck into a reboot cycle where I set off and I was totally fine for about 5 minutes, and then it just had to like reboot itself twice before it finally was able to actually have the system running again. So a little bit glitchy, but I mean, this is the very first iteration of this new screen and this new software and stuff. So I'm sure that, that will be something that, improves its stability over time, hopefully. But, like I said, only crashed once on me in my weekend. I mean, that's pretty impressive considering there's other vehicles like the new Subaru Outback with its big new touchscreen. That thing was crashing several times, was very slow to boot up and stuff. This is very quick to boot up, does a really good job. I love all the little customizable widgets. I mean, they give you so much customization with this screen, and it's just so much more higher resolution than the old 8-inch screen was. I think they say it's about 3 times the resolution. It's 5 times as fast as the old screen, and it is still pretty quick. I will say there were a couple of times where I was waiting a beat for it to actually load up what I clicked on, so it still isn't perfect or anything, but it is better than before, although I never really had any issues with the speed in the Uconnect 4 screen either. But I'd say, in my experience, this is about as quick, maybe even a tiny bit quicker. But again, having the wireless smartphone integration, I think, is the one real big draw that you get with this screen that you don't get with the older screens. And of course, having the extra real estate of the extra 2 inches or so of screen size there is really great. And I think it nicely fills out this new center of the dashboard here. They completely restyled this whole center stack area, and I will be doing an interior review with my wife, and so I'll link that above. Also, interestingly, so this does have the optional 19-speaker Harman Kardon stereo, and it's a 825-watt stereo system, and it sounded very good. But towards the end of my week here, for some reason, there started being a little crackling in the one tweeter in the passenger side A-pillar there. I'm sure that's just an issue with this vehicle. I don't know if the one speaker's just going bad or whatever. Hopefully that's just because this is, an early production model or something. But there's one thing to note there that, that was already having issues, and that's not great for a brand new vehicle with 5,000 miles on it to already have a speaker that sounds like it's about to go out. So that's one other little minor quality thing. Another little minor quality thing is you might be hearing, actually, this center bin rattles a good bit. And it's been something that, some people, that kind of stuff irks them more than others. It kind of just turns into white noise for me, and it kind of just fades into the background most of the time. But if that is something that annoys you, you still have rattles, and that's the kind of stuff that generally you don't get in those super expensive luxury brands. Obviously, with the Durango here, you're paying for the engine, you're paying for the performance, and not so much the interior, even though they did improve this interior by a very nice margin here for these new ones. But this one, as tested, is over $92,000. These do start around $82,500. But again, I don't have to sell anyone on any of these because they're already sold out. But, just from a cross-shopping perspective, clearly this is going to, not live up to those, almost 6-figure price tags on the inside here, like you might see in the Mercedes and the BMW and stuff like that. But, still, again, for the target demographic of this vehicle, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. Even whenever you're driving slowly, just hearing that supercharger line is enough to put a grin on your face, even if you can't go full throttle or, dip into the supercharger too much. Just always just hearing it lurking in the background there with that line is always just something else that just makes you feel really happy that you're driving a Durango Hellcat. But one thing that is interesting too, even at lower speeds, is the exhaust drone. So this is a common thing with other SRT products, and most SRT buyers don't seem to mind. But just do keep in mind that this is going to be a good bit louder than even a regular SRT Durango, because for the Hellcats here, the mufflers are reduced by 2/3, and so you have much more sound than you even have in those SRT versions. And it sounds fantastic. I'm not complaining in the slightest, but I know Beth did comment whenever we first were setting off in this for the first time. She's like, oh man, that's like really kind of droney, but we did get used to it. Even she got used to it and wasn't complaining after that first day there. But just, you know, you will hear a little bit more drone in this, but it's really not too bad, especially in this. Like in a Charger or something, it's a little more noticeable and a little more prominent, and it kind of resonates a little bit more. This, I think, because it's a longer vehicle and you have a little bit more to absorb the sound, I think it kind of lessens that effect. You still do notice it sometimes from time to time. One other thing that I wasn't crazy about is the fuel range in this vehicle, because of course it doesn't get great fuel economy. Honestly though, it's not bad for the extra horsepower. You're only losing about 2 mpg over the regular SRT Durango. So, I mean, you're not paying a huge fuel economy penalty to have all this extra power. And but yeah, so I've driven this vehicle 250 miles here, and most of that driving was actually on the highway. I did do a couple little road trips, and so that did rack up a decent amount of the mileage here. But I did do some around town stuff, of course, as well. But anyway, my fuel economy has been 13.3 mpg, which is actually a little bit better than I was expecting, honestly, because these are only rated at 12 mpg in the city, 17 on the highway, and 13 combined. So I'm actually doing better than that combined rating. Granted, I did do more, you know, majority of my driving again on the highway, so this is pretty accurate, but it does live up to those, you know, fuel economy ratings. And I was assuming, you know, getting into that supercharger and stuff, that, you know, I was going to maybe dip it down a little bit lower, especially since like the Ram T-Rex, that thing I was getting 11 mpg even with a lot of highway driving. So to be getting 13, yes, we're talking about 13 miles to the gallon, but again, context is key here, because if you look at even the average V6 powered 3-row crossover that isn't performance oriented, those will maybe get, you know, between 16 and 18 mpg on a good day anyway. So again, you're only giving up 3 miles to the gallon here. So honestly, I don't think that fuel economy is going to be much of an issue. The only thing with fuel related that was a little bit irksome to me was the fact that your range isn't great. So after driving about 230 miles, I was already below a quarter tank of gas. I mean, it's not a small tank, it's 26.4 gallons. It's just that, again, you have, you know, just not great fuel economy. So even with a 26-gallon tank, it only goes so far. So, you know, that is one thing is, you know, even though comparatively speaking, fuel economy isn't horrendous, you know, you are going to be filling up quite a bit more often than, you know, maybe in a normal SUV or something. It could probably stretch it out over 300 miles or so on a tank of gas. But that's, you know, those are my little bit of complaint, little minor gripes with the Durango Hellcat. Otherwise, obviously, it's amazing. You don't need this video to tell you that. This thing is one of the coolest things out there this year, and I'm just so happy that Dodge was cool enough to offer this thing, even if they are only able to offer it for 1 year. I'm glad they offered it and spent all the money to put this Hellcat motor in this thing for just that 1 year. And I think, honestly, even though they're all sold out, as far as pricing goes, it's not, I think it's, you know, reasonably priced, even though it is super high. It's reasonably priced for what you're getting here. And, you know, like I said, it's either you want a supercharged Hellcat engine in your SUV or you don't. This is the only options. So they kind of have the market cornered there. But yeah, I absolutely love this thing. It's fantastic. But anyway, yeah, this is going to be one that I'm going to be sad to see it leave this week. It's been an absolute blast to live with, and if you have one of these on order, I'm just here to say that you made an excellent choice, and I think you're going to absolutely love these things. And you know, they might not even depreciate much if, you know, since they're going to be so rare and so limited production, you know, they could end up actually appreciating over time, because this is certainly something you're not going to see probably ever again. A supercharged 700 horsepower, you know, Hemi V8 in an SUV like this, you know, I'm pretty sure that's something we're never going to see again. So this vehicle can really go down in history as, you know, being a very high watermark in the Dodge history books. And I'm just very grateful I was able to live with one for a week and, you know, drive this multiple times now, drive it on track. It's been a fantastic experience here. These things are truly special, but that's not to say that the regular SRT versions are any less fun. I mean, those things are also fantastic. I reviewed one a few years back, and I'm hoping to test out a new 2021 version of those down the road as well. But yeah, these Durangos are really nicely improved here for 2021, and if, like I said, if you can get your hands on a Hellcat, definitely go for it. They're fantastic. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on the Durango Hellcat in the comments below. Be sure again to check out the interior review and also the full driving review, which goes into more details and my thoughts of what it's like on track and stuff, if you're curious to hear all about that. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.